The Alpha King's only cub was dying. The greatest healers in the werewolf world had already failed. With death closing in, hope was gone, until a rejected Omega cleaner walked into the room. Nobody knew her. Nobody trusted her. But the moment she touched the dying cub's forehead, a blinding silver light exploded across the room. Seconds later, the impossible happened. The poison vanished. The cub opened his eyes. And an ancient power buried for thousands of years began to awaken. What nobody realized was that saving the Alpha's son would trigger a prophecy powerful enough to change the fate of every werewolf alive. If you enjoy werewolf stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment where you are watching from. Now, let's begin the story. Chapter 1. The storm arrived without warning. Lightning split the night sky above Blackfang City, illuminating the towering glass and steel fortress that served as the headquarters of the Blackfang Pack. Rain hammered against the massive windows while dozens of guards stood watch outside. Inside, panic ruled. The fever is rising again. A healer's voice echoed through the medical wing. Another healer rushed forward with a glowing silver vial. It isn't working. The poison is spreading too fast. His heartbeat is weakening. The room fell silent. At the center of the chaos lay a small boy no older than 6. Damon Blackthorne. The only cub of Alpha King Damon Blackthorne. The future heir of the most powerful werewolf pack in the world. And he was dying. His tiny body trembled beneath the white blankets. Dark veins crawled beneath his skin like living shadows. Every breath seemed harder than the last. Around him stood the finest healers money could buy. They had traveled from every territory. Northern shamans. Southern medicine wolves. Moon-blessed healers. Even witches. None of them had found a cure. For 7 days, they had tried everything. For 7 days, the mysterious poison continued to consume the cub. Now they were running out of time. Alpha Damon stood beside the bed. The massive Alpha looked as if he had aged 10 years in a single week. His black suit was wrinkled. Dark circles surrounded his eyes. His hands shook slightly as he stared at his son. The strongest Alpha alive. The man feared by thousands. Completely helpless. Aiden. His voice cracked. The cub's eyelids fluttered. Dad. The weak whisper nearly shattered Damon's heart. I'm here, son. It hurts. The Alpha closed his eyes. Every healer in the room lowered their heads. None of them could help. Aiden reached out with trembling fingers. Am I going to die? The question pierced the room like a knife. Nobody answered. Because nobody knew how to lie. Damon swallowed hard. No. The words sounded empty. We're going to fix this. Aiden gave a small nod. But even a child could hear the uncertainty. The cub's eyes slowly closed again. His breathing became shallow. A terrible silence followed. One healer finally stepped forward. An elderly woman named Vera. The most respected healer in the continent. She looked directly at Damon. Alpha. He already hated the expression on her face. Tell me. We've done everything possible. Damon's jaw tightened. No. Alpha. No. The room trembled. Windows rattled. The air itself seemed to shake beneath the pressure of his Alpha aura. Several healers stepped back nervously. Damon's golden eyes glowed. You don't get to quit. Vera lowered her head. I am not quitting. Then save him. A painful silence. Then she spoke the words everyone feared. There is nothing left to try. The Alpha froze. For a moment nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then Damon turned away. His fists clenched so tightly that blood dripped from his palms. The king of Blackfang Pack stared out the rain-covered window. And for the first time in years, he looked defeated. 3 floors below, a woman scrubbed blood from the hospital floor. Nobody noticed her. Nobody ever did. She wore the gray uniform assigned to low-ranking workers. Her dark hair was tied back. Her head remained lowered. Invisible. That was how life worked when you were an Omega. Especially a rejected Omega. Especially one like Lyra Vale. The whispers followed her everywhere. Rejected. Cursed. Unwanted. Pathetic. She had heard them all. Years ago she had belonged to another pack. She had once dreamed of becoming a healer. Then her mate had rejected her publicly. Humiliated her. Destroyed her future. Afterward, nobody wanted her. So she came to Blackfang City. Took whatever work she could find. Cleaning. Cooking. Maintenance. Anything. As long as it paid. Lyra dipped her cloth into a bucket and continued working. The hospital corridors felt heavier than usual tonight. Everyone looked terrified. Everyone whispered. The Alpha's cub was dying. The entire city knew. A group of nurses hurried past. One of them shook her head. The healers failed. Another gasped. All of them? Every single one. Lyra paused. Failed? That wasn't possible. The Blackfang Pack could afford the greatest healers alive. She resumed cleaning. It wasn't her problem. At least that's what she told herself. Yet something felt strange. A pressure. A sensation she couldn't explain. For the last 3 days she had experienced odd dreams. Dreams about a child trapped in darkness. A voice calling for help. Golden eyes. Pain. And every time she woke, she felt drawn toward the upper floors. Toward the medical wing. Toward the dying cub. She had ignored it. Until now. Another nurse rushed by. The Alpha is asking for more specialists. There are no more specialists. Then the cub is doomed. The word sent a chill through Lyra. Doomed. For some reason the word hurt. As if she knew the child. As if she could hear his suffering. She shook her head. Ridiculous. She grabbed her bucket and continued working. Yet the strange feeling only grew stronger. Hours later. The hospital became quieter. Most visitors had gone home. The rain continued outside. Lyra finished her shift. Exhaustion weighed on her body. She should leave. Go home. Sleep. Instead she found herself standing before the elevator leading to the restricted upper floors. Her heartbeat quickened. Why am I here? She didn't know. Something pulled her forward. The doors opened. Nobody stopped her. The upper floor was strangely empty. Most guards had been called elsewhere. Lyra stepped into the hallway. The pressure intensified. Almost like an invisible thread guiding her. One step. Then another. The closer she got to the medical wing, the stronger it became. Suddenly. A voice. Soft. Weak. Barely audible. Help me. Lyra froze. Her eyes widened. The voice came from inside her mind. Help me. The same voice from her dreams. The child. Aiden. She turned toward a large set of doors. 2 guards stood nearby. Neither noticed her. The pressure became overwhelming. Almost painful. Her wolf stirred inside her. Not with fear. Recognition. As if something ancient had awakened. Help me. Without thinking, Lyra walked forward. The doors slid open. Inside the room, Alpha Damon still stood beside his son's bed. Several healers remained nearby. Nobody spoke. The atmosphere felt like a funeral. Then one healer noticed movement. A woman entering, holding a cleaning bucket. Everyone stared. Confusion spread instantly. "Who are you?" someone demanded. Lyra stopped. Reality suddenly returned. What was she doing? This was madness. She lowered her gaze. "Sorry." A guard stepped forward. "You aren't authorized to be here." Damon turned. His eyes landed on her. The room instantly grew colder. One look from the Alpha was enough to make most people collapse. Lyra nearly did. Yet she couldn't stop staring at the cub. The dark veins. The pale skin. The suffering. Something inside her twisted painfully. The Alpha's voice thundered. "Leave." Lyra should have obeyed. Instead she whispered, "I think I can help him." The room exploded with disbelief. One healer laughed. Another looked offended. "A cleaner? You? Ridiculous." Damon's expression darkened. "My son is dying." "I know." "Then don't mock me." Lyra shook her head. "I'm not." The strange sensation inside her grew stronger. She looked directly at Aiden. The cub suddenly opened his eyes. For the first time in hours. Everyone noticed. Aiden stared at Lyra. Then he whispered, "You came." The room fell silent. Lyra's breath caught. The child smiled weakly. "I knew you'd come." Nobody understood. Not even Lyra. Damon stepped forward. "What did you say?" Aiden looked at his father. "She's the one." The Alpha frowned. "The one what?" The cub's gaze returned to Lyra. "The one from the light." A chilling silence swept through the room. Then Aiden cried out in pain. His body arched violently. Dark energy burst beneath his skin. Healers rushed forward. The monitors screamed. "His heart rate is crashing. The poison is spreading. We're losing him." Panic erupted. Damon grabbed his son's hand. "Aiden." The cub screamed. Without thinking. Without permission. Without understanding why. Lyra rushed forward. She pushed through the healers. Reached the bed. And placed her hand on the dying cub's forehead. The instant their skin touched, a blinding silver light exploded through the room. Chapter 2. The silver light consumed everything. Healers stumbled backward. Machines sparked. The hospital room shook as if an earthquake had struck the building. For one terrifying second, nobody could see. Nobody could breathe. Nobody could understand what was happening. Then, silence. The light vanished. The room fell still. Every eye turned toward the bed. Toward Aiden. Toward Lyra. The Omega stood frozen beside the cub, her hands still resting on his forehead. Her eyes were wide with shock. She had no idea what she had done. None. A gasp broke the silence. One of the healers pointed. The veins. Everyone looked. The dark veins that had covered Aiden's body were fading. Not slowly. Not gradually. They were disappearing before their eyes. Like shadows fleeing from sunlight. The monitors began to stabilize. The frantic alarms stopped. Aiden's heartbeat strengthened. Steady. Strong. Healthy. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Because what they were seeing was impossible. He's recovering. The healer's voice trembled. Another rushed forward to examine the cub. Then another. Then another. Each looked more shocked than the last. The poison is retreating. That's impossible. It should be killing him. But it's disappearing. Damon Blackthorne stared at his son. His entire body froze. For 7 days he had watched death consume the boy. For 7 days the greatest healers in the world had failed. Yet somehow, a rejected Omega had done what none of them could. Aiden opened his eyes. Bright golden eyes. Clear eyes. No pain. No fever. No fear. Dad? The Alpha's breath caught. For the first time in a week. His son sounded normal. Aiden. The Alpha dropped to his knees beside the bed. The strongest Alpha alive. The king of Blackfang. Kneeling. His hands trembled as he touched his son's face. The cub smiled. I'm hungry. The room exploded. Several healers nearly fainted. One nurse burst into tears. Another healer sat down before his legs gave out. Hungry. The dying cub was hungry. That alone was a miracle. Damon laughed. Then he cried. Then he laughed again. Relief crashed through him like a tidal wave. His son was alive. Alive. The Alpha looked up. His golden eyes locked onto Lyra. The room instantly grew silent again. Everyone remembered. The Omega. The rejected Omega. The one who had somehow saved the heir. Lyra suddenly realized every person was staring at her. Fear flooded her chest. She stepped back. I don't know what happened. Nobody answered. Because nobody knew either. Then the oldest healer, Vera, approached slowly. Her hands trembled. Young woman. Lyra swallowed. Yes? What exactly did you do? I don't know. You don't know? Lyra shook her head. I touched him. The room remained silent. Touched him. That was her answer. Touched him. The explanation sounded absurd. Yet everyone had witnessed it. Vera looked at the cub. Then at Lyra. Then back at the cub. Finally her face turned pale. Oh no. Damon immediately noticed. What is it? The healer hesitated. For the first time in decades, she seemed afraid. Alpha. Speak. I think I know what happened. Every eye turned toward her. Vera inhaled deeply. There are ancient legends. Nobody interrupted. The stories are older than the packs themselves. The room listened. There were once wolves born beneath the moon goddess's direct blessing. Lyra frowned. She had heard children's stories about them. Nothing more. They were called moon-touched. Several healers exchanged nervous glances. Vera continued. These wolves possessed gifts beyond normal understanding. Healing. Empathy. Spiritual connection. The ability to cleanse curses. The room grew colder. Damon's gaze shifted toward Lyra. The Omega immediately shook her head. No. Vera ignored her. The legends claim they disappeared centuries ago. Extinct. Lost. Damon spoke quietly. And you believe she is one? The healer looked directly at Lyra. After what I just witnessed. Yes. Lyra felt the floor vanish beneath her feet. Moon-touched. Impossible. She was nobody. A rejected Omega. A cleaner. Nothing special. Nothing important. She had spent years hearing exactly that. How could she suddenly become part of an ancient legend? No. Her voice shook. You're mistaken. But even as she spoke, strange memories surfaced. Moments from childhood. Animals approaching her without fear. Injured birds healing unusually fast after she touched them. Her grandmother whispering strange things before she died. You must never let them know. Lyra's heart skipped. Why was she remembering that now? The Alpha's voice interrupted her thoughts. What is your name? She looked up. The question startled her. Nobody important ever asked her name. Lyra. The Alpha waited. Lyra what? Lyra Vale. The room suddenly became tense. Several healers recognized the name. Damon noticed. What? One healer answered carefully. The Vale bloodline. Vera's eyes widened. Of course. The Alpha frowned. What does that mean? The old healer looked troubled. The Vale family disappeared nearly 20 years ago. Damon folded his arms. And? They were rumored to be descendants of the moon touched. Silence. Absolute silence. Lyra felt dizzy. No. No, no, no. This couldn't be real. Her family had never spoken about such things. Then again, her family had rarely spoken about anything. Many secrets had died with her grandmother. Damon studied her carefully. The Alpha King was not a foolish man. He had spent years reading people, studying enemies, detecting lies. Yet when he looked at Lyra, he sensed honesty, confusion, fear, and something else. A power she clearly didn't understand. Before he could speak, Aiden climbed out of bed. The room gasped. Hours ago he had been dying. Now he was standing. The cub walked directly toward Lyra. Without hesitation. Without fear. Then he wrapped his small arms around her waist. Everyone froze. Including Lyra. The cub buried his face against her. His voice was soft. You found me. Tears unexpectedly filled Lyra's eyes. She didn't know why. She had never met him before tonight. Yet the moment he hugged her, something inside her heart responded. Like a missing piece finally returning. The sensation frightened her. And comforted her. At the same time. Aiden looked up. His golden eyes sparkled. I knew you would. Lyra crouched beside him. How? The cub smiled. I saw you. When? In my dreams. The room fell silent again. A chill traveled through every person present. Lyra's heartbeat accelerated. Dreams. The same dreams she had experienced. The same voice. The same child. It couldn't be coincidence. Could it? Suddenly. The hospital lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then darkness. The entire floor lost power. Several people gasped. Emergency lights activated seconds later. Everything glowed red. An uneasy feeling spread through the room. Damon immediately became alert. His wolf sensed danger. So did every guard. One rushed inside. Alpha. Damon turned. What happened? The guard looked pale. There has been a breach. The room froze. A breach? Someone entered the building. The Alpha's eyes narrowed. Who? We don't know. The guard swallowed. But security found 3 dead sentries. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Someone had killed Blackfang guards. Inside the Alpha's fortress. That alone was unthinkable. Then the guard spoke the words that changed everything. The intruder is heading toward this floor. Every warrior instantly tensed. Damon stepped in front of Aiden. Protective instinct blazing. The cub was no longer dying. Which meant he had become vulnerable again. Someone had waited for that moment. Someone had known. The Alpha's eyes burned gold. Lock down the building. Already done. Find the intruder. The guard hesitated. We tried. What do you mean? The guard looked terrified. Alpha. His voice cracked. The surveillance cameras caught him. Who? The guard swallowed hard. Then whispered. The man who poisoned your son. The room exploded with shock. Damon's aura erupted. Windows shattered. Furniture cracked. The Alpha King had spent 7 days searching for answers. 7 days hunting the monster responsible. Now that monster was here. Inside his fortress. Very close. Very, very close. Then something strange happened. Lyra suddenly felt a violent pulse inside her chest. Pain shot through her body. Her wolf cried out. A vision flashed before her eyes. A man. Wearing a silver mask. Walking through the shadows. Holding a black dagger. Heading directly toward Aiden. Lyra gasped. The image vanished. The Omega staggered backward. Everyone turned toward her. What happened? Damon demanded. Lyra's face turned white. She pointed toward the hallway. Fear filling her voice. He's coming. The Alpha frowned. Who? The man. Her breathing became uneven. The one who poisoned Aiden. The room went silent. Damon stared at her. How do you know that? Lyra looked toward the door. Toward the darkness beyond. Then she whispered. Because I can see him. At that exact moment. A blood-curdling scream echoed from somewhere down the corridor. And then another. And another. The intruder had arrived. Chapter 3. The scream echoed through the corridor. Then another. And another. Every warrior in the room immediately reached for their weapons. The scent of blood flooded the air. Alpha Damon stepped forward, his golden eyes blazing. Protect my son. The command shook the room. 10 elite Blackfang warriors instantly surrounded Aiden. Others rushed toward the hallway. The Alpha turned toward Lyra. Stay with him. Before she could answer, a terrifying howl exploded somewhere inside the building. Not a normal wolf howl. Something darker. Something wrong. Every wolf in the room felt it. Even Aiden shivered. The sound carried hatred. Death. Madness. One of the healers whispered nervously. What was that? Nobody answered. Because nobody knew. Meanwhile, several floors below, bodies littered the corridor. Blackfang guards lay unconscious or dead. Security doors hung twisted from their hinges. Deep claw marks covered the walls. A lone figure walked through the destruction. Slowly. Calmly. Confidently. A silver mask hid his face. A black cloak covered his body. In one hand he carried a curved dagger. Dark energy flowed across its blade. The man stopped. He looked upward. Toward the medical floor. Toward Aiden. A cruel smile formed beneath the mask. So. His voice echoed softly. The Omega awakened. The man chuckled. Interesting. Then he continued walking. Back on the medical floor. The atmosphere grew heavier by the second. Damon stood near the entrance. Waiting. Listening. Hunting. The Alpha King had fought rogue alphas. Assassins. Mercenaries. Even entire rival packs. Yet something about tonight felt different. His wolf sensed an old danger. Ancient danger. The kind that appeared only in legends. Suddenly. A guard's voice crackled through the communication system. Alpha. Damon immediately responded. Report. Static. Heavy breathing. Then. He's not alone. The transmission ended. A loud crash followed. Then silence. The Alpha's jaw tightened. Something was very wrong. Near the back of the room, Lyra sat beside Aiden. The cub held her hand tightly, almost as if he feared she would disappear. The strange bond between them had only grown stronger. She could feel his emotions. His fear. His confusion. Even his determination. It shouldn't have been possible. Yet it was happening. Aiden looked up at her. "You're scared." Lyra forced a smile. "A little." The cub nodded. "I'm scared too." She squeezed his hand. "We'll be okay." The boy studied her face. Then smiled. "You always say that." Lyra blinked. "What?" Aiden tilted his head. "In the dreams." A chill ran through her. Again with the dreams. Before she could ask another question, a painful pulse struck her chest. Her vision blurred. The room disappeared. Darkness swallowed everything. She stood in a forest. Moonlight illuminated the trees. Wind whispered through silver leaves. The place felt familiar. Ancient. Sacred. A woman stood before her. Tall. Beautiful. Glowing with silver light. Her eyes shone like stars. Lyra froze. The woman smiled gently. "Child." The voice felt like music. Like home. "Who are you?" The woman stepped closer. "The blood has awakened." "What blood?" "The gift your family protected for generations." Lyra's heart pounded. The moon-touched bloodline. The woman's expression darkened. "The hunter has returned." Lyra felt fear. "What hunter?" The woman looked toward the darkness between the trees. "He seeks the child." A distant growl echoed. The forest trembled. The cub must survive. "Why?" The woman looked directly into Lyra's eyes. Then spoke words that changed everything. "Because he is one of the three." Lyra frowned. "The three?" But before the woman could answer, the world shattered. Lyra gasped. Reality returned. She found herself back in the hospital room. Only seconds had passed. Aiden stared at her. "You saw her." Lyra's blood turned cold. "What?" "The Silver Lady." The cub's voice was calm. As though this were completely normal. The room suddenly felt much smaller. Much stranger. Before Lyra could respond. Boom! The doors exploded inward. The entire room erupted into chaos. Warriors rushed forward. Healers screamed. Aiden grabbed Lyra's arm. Smoke filled the entrance. A figure stepped through it. Tall. Silent. Terrifying. The silver-masked man. The intruder. The poisoner. The hunter. Every instinct inside Lyra screamed danger. The man stopped. His gaze moved across the room. Past the warriors. Past the Alpha. Past everyone. Until it landed on Aiden. Then on Lyra. A low chuckle escaped him. "So." His voice was calm. "The moon-touched Omega truly exists." The room froze. The man already knew. Damon stepped forward. His alpha aura exploded. The floor cracked beneath his feet. "You poisoned my son." The masked man shrugged. "Yes." The casual answer stunned everyone. No denial. No fear. Nothing. Damon's eyes burned. "You'll die for that." The stranger laughed. "No." His gaze shifted toward Aiden. "The child dies tonight." The Alpha attacked. Instantly. Like a bullet. One moment he stood still. The next he crossed the room. His fist struck with enough force to shatter concrete. But the masked man vanished. A blur. A shadow. He reappeared 20 feet away. The warriors gasped. Nobody moved that fast. Nobody. Not even alphas. The stranger tilted his head. Still predictable, Damon. The alpha froze. You know my name. The man chuckled. I know many things. Then he looked at Lyra. And so do you. Fear gripped her chest. The stranger pointed at her. You've seen the visions. Lyra remained silent. The masked man smiled. Good. Damon stepped between them. You aren't touching her. The stranger laughed. Trust me. His voice darkened. She is the last person I want to kill. The room became silent. The last person? Why? Before anyone could ask, the masked man raised his hand. Dark energy exploded outward. The walls shattered. Windows burst. Several warriors were thrown across the room. Screams echoed. The power felt unnatural. Corrupted. Ancient. Lyra had never experienced anything like it. The stranger's gaze returned to Aiden. The boy. His voice became colder. He cannot be allowed to live. Damon growled. Why? For the first time, the stranger hesitated. Then he spoke. Because when the three awaken. Fear flashed across his hidden face. Actual fear. The world ends. The room went silent. Nobody understood. Nobody except Lyra. Because she remembered the woman's words. One of the three. Aiden. The cub was one of them. The stranger suddenly lunged forward. Faster than sight. Straight toward Aiden. Warriors moved to intercept. Too slow. Damon attacked. Too slow. Everyone was too slow. Except Lyra. Instinct took over. The moment the stranger reached the cub, she stepped in front of him and touched his arm. The effect was immediate. Silver light exploded from her hand. The masked man screamed. A sound filled with agony. The force launched him backward. He crashed through 3 walls before finally stopping. The entire building shook. Silence followed. Every person stared at Lyra. Including Lyra. She looked down at her glowing hand. Terrified. Confused. Power continued flowing beneath her skin. Silver markings slowly appeared across her arms. Ancient symbols. Beautiful symbols. The room filled with light. The stranger slowly stood among the rubble. For the first time. He looked afraid. Genuinely afraid. He stared at the glowing symbols. Then whispered something nobody expected. No. His voice trembled. It can't be. Lyra's heart pounded. The masked man took a step back. Then another. His fear grew with every second. Finally he whispered. The Guardian has returned. Before anyone could react. A deafening roar echoed from outside the fortress. The ground shook. Windows rattled. Every wolf in the city felt it. Thousands of wolves suddenly dropped to their knees. Because the roar belonged to something ancient. Something powerful. Something that had just awakened. And whatever it was coming for Lyra. Chapter 4. The roar shook the entire city. Glass shattered across Blackfang Tower. Car alarms echoed from the streets below. Throughout Blackfang City, wolves froze in terror. Some dropped to their knees. Others covered their ears. Every instinct screamed the same warning. Something ancient had awakened. Inside the medical wing, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Even Alpha Damon felt his wolf recoil. The sound carried overwhelming power. Not alpha power. Not beta power. Something older. Something that existed long before modern packs. The masked hunter. The cub looked fascinated. Not frightened. Almost as if he recognized the symbols. The stars. Everyone turned toward him. What? Aiden pointed at Lyra's arm. The stars are waking up. The room fell silent. The strange thing was, the symbols actually resembled constellations. Tiny glowing stars connected by silver lines. Vera, the elderly healer, gasped. No. Her face turned pale. No, no, no. Damon looked at her. What now? The healer swallowed hard. Then whispered. The celestial marks. The masked hunter immediately looked at her. His eyes narrowed. So someone still remembers. Vera ignored him. Her gaze remained fixed on Lyra. The stories were true. What stories? Damon demanded. The healer's hands shook. The moon-touched weren't simply healers. Nobody spoke. Vera continued. They were guardians. They protected something. The room seemed colder. What? The healer looked at Aiden. Then at Lyra. Then finally at the masked hunter. A prophecy. The masked hunter laughed. A dark, bitter laugh. Prophecies. His voice echoed through the ruined room. Always prophecies. Damon stepped forward. Explain. The hunter stared at him. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then he finally sighed. Very well. His gaze shifted toward Aiden. Thousands of years ago, before packs ruled the world, 3 wolves were born under the blood moon. Lyra felt a chill. The same words from her vision. The 3. The hunter continued. They were unlike any wolves before them. Each carried part of an ancient power. Together, they could reshape the world. Aiden listened carefully. Even the cub sensed the importance. What happened to them? Lyra asked quietly. The hunter's eyes darkened. They disappeared. Or so everyone believed. Silence. Then he pointed at Aiden. But one has returned. The room froze. Aiden instinctively moved closer to Lyra. The hunter smiled grimly. The first of the 3. The cub's voice was small. Me? Yes. Fear crossed Aiden's face. The hunter then looked directly at Lyra. And the guardian has awakened to protect him. Lyra's heart pounded. The silver symbols on her skin pulsed brighter. Guardian. The word felt strangely familiar. As though she had heard it long ago. Somewhere deep inside her soul. Damon's voice cut through the silence. Who are you? The hunter slowly turned. For the first time, he seemed tired. Ancient. Burdened. Someone who already witnessed the end. Nobody understood. The hunter reached up. Then removed his silver mask. Gasps filled the room. His face was covered with scars. One eye glowed black. The other silver. Yet what shocked Damon most? He recognized him. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. No. The Alpha staggered backward. You died. The man smiled sadly. That was the idea. The room looked between them. Confused. Damon stared in disbelief. Marcus. Lyra frowned. The name meant nothing to her. But Damon looked as if he had seen a ghost. 20 years ago, Marcus Greyfang had been one of the strongest warriors in Blackfang history. A legendary Gamma. A hero. Then he vanished. No body was ever found. Most assumed he died. Apparently, they were wrong. Marcus sighed. I wish I had. The room fell silent. Then, a horrifying roar echoed again. Closer this time. Much closer. The entire building trembled. Something massive landed on the roof. Boom. Concrete cracked overhead. Everyone looked upward. Fear spread instantly. Whatever was outside. It had arrived. Far above. On the rooftop. Rain poured from the dark sky. Lightning illuminated a gigantic creature. It resembled a wolf. But only barely. Its size rivaled a truck. Silver fur glowed beneath the storm. Its eyes burned like moons. Ancient symbols covered its body. The creature lifted its head. And howled. The sound echoed across the city. Every wolf heard it. Every wolf feared it. Then the creature sniffed the air. Searching. Hunting. Looking for someone. Looking for Lyra. Back inside. The roof suddenly exploded. Debris rained downward. People screamed. Warriors raised shields. A gigantic silver paw crashed through the ceiling. Then another. Then a massive head emerged. Golden eyes scanned the room. The creature was enormous. Beautiful. Terrifying. A living legend. Several healers fainted instantly. Others ran. Even elite warriors hesitated. The beast ignored everyone. Its gaze locked onto Lyra. The Omega couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The creature slowly lowered its head. Closer. 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 Then something unbelievable happened. The giant wolf knelt. The room froze. The ancient beast lowered itself before Lyra. Like a knight before a queen. Like a servant before its ruler. A stunned silence followed. Marcus looked horrified. No. The word escaped him involuntarily. The giant wolf spoke. Not aloud. Inside every mind. Inside every soul. Guardian. The single word echoed through the room. Lyra's eyes widened. The beast spoke again. We have waited. The silver symbols on Lyra's arms blazed brighter. Memories suddenly flooded her mind. Ancient memories. Not her memories. Someone else's. Cities made of moonstone. Armies of wolves. Ancient wars. Blood moons. Guardians. The three. And a terrible darkness rising from beneath the earth. Lyra cried out. Pain exploded through her head. Marcus sensed it too. His face turned white. No. The word came out as a whisper. Not fear. Terror. Real terror. Damon immediately noticed. What is it? Marcus didn't answer immediately. Instead he stared into the darkness beyond the rain. Then he finally spoke. The second one. Lightning flashed across the sky. For a brief moment, a silhouette appeared atop a distant skyscraper. A lone figure. Watching. Waiting. Eyes glowing crimson. The giant silver wolf immediately lowered its head. Not in submission. In preparation. For battle. Marcus's voice shook. Run. Nobody had ever heard that tone from a legendary gamma. Everyone run. The crimson-eyed figure smiled from the distant rooftop. Even from miles away, they could feel its power. Its hunger. Its rage. And then the figure vanished. The giant wolf released a warning howl. Too late. Because at that exact moment, every light in Blackfang City went out. And a voice echoed across the darkness. A voice heard by every wolf in the city. I have found the first. Chapter 5. Darkness swallowed Blackfang City. Every light was gone. Every screen. Every street lamp. Every building. The entire city stood frozen beneath the storm. Then the voice echoed again. A voice so powerful that every wolf heard it inside their mind. I have found the first. Fear spread across the city like wildfire. Inside Blackfang Tower, silence reigned. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Aiden gripped Lyra's hand tightly. The cub's golden eyes glowed brighter than before. Marcus stared out into the darkness. His face had become pale. For 20 years he had hidden. For 20 years he had hunted shadows. For 20 years he had hoped this day would never come. Now it had arrived. The second has awakened. Damon stepped forward. Who is he? Marcus looked toward the Alpha. Then toward Aiden. Finally, he answered. The Destroyer. The room grew colder. The second of the three. The giant silver wolf growled. Its massive body positioned itself protectively before Lyra and Aiden. Rain poured through the shattered ceiling. Lightning flashed. Thunder roared. Yet somehow, everyone sensed a greater storm approaching. Far across the city, a figure stood atop the tallest skyscraper. A young man. No older than 25. Black clothing fluttered in the wind. Crimson eyes glowed beneath the storm clouds. His expression was calm. Almost peaceful. Yet destruction radiated from him. The air around him twisted unnaturally. Buildings groaned. Windows cracked. The city itself seemed afraid. The young man smiled. At last. Then he vanished. Back inside Blackfang Tower. The giant silver wolf suddenly raised its head. Its ears flattened. Danger. Immediate danger. The beast roared. The entire room shook. A fraction of a second later. Boom! The far wall exploded inward. Concrete and steel erupted across the room. Warriors were thrown backward. Furniture shattered. Smoke filled the air. When it cleared, a lone figure stood among the destruction. The crimson-eyed stranger. The second. The Destroyer. He looked around calmly. Then his gaze landed on Aiden. The young man's smile widened. There you are. The cub instinctively stepped behind Lyra. The stranger laughed softly. You've grown. Aiden frowned. We've never met. The stranger's eyes softened. Haven't we? The room fell silent. Something strange passed across Aiden's face. Recognition. A memory. A feeling. Then it vanished. The stranger noticed. And smiled sadly. You remember. Marcus immediately stepped forward. Stay away from him. The Destroyer looked amused. You still live. Marcus growled. Unfortunately for you. The young man chuckled. Then his gaze shifted toward Lyra. Everything changed. The smile disappeared. The amusement vanished. For the first time. He seemed surprised. The Guardian. The silver symbols across Lyra's skin blazed. The giant wolf moved protectively in front of her. The stranger stared at both. Then slowly lowered his head. Not in fear. Not in submission. Respect. After all these centuries. Lyra's heart pounded. Who are you? The stranger looked directly into her eyes. Then answered. My name once was Orion. Lightning illuminated the room. The second of the three. Silence. Then Orion pointed toward Aiden. The first. His gaze shifted toward the city beyond. And the third is awakening. Everyone froze. There was another. Another one? Orion nodded. As there has always been. Damon stepped forward. What do you want? The destroyer looked at the Alpha. Then at Aiden. Finally, he answered. To stop the end. The room went silent. Marcus stared at him. What? Orion sighed. The prophecy was misunderstood. Nobody spoke. For thousands of years stories had claimed the three would destroy the world. Now Orion was saying something different. The three were never meant to end the world. Aiden stared at him. Then what are we supposed to do? Orion's expression darkened. Save it. A terrible silence followed. Then suddenly, Lyra's symbols exploded with light. A vision filled the room. Everyone saw it. Mountains crumbling. Oceans rising. Cities burning. Dark creatures emerging from beneath the earth. An endless army of shadows. And above them all, a gigantic black moon. The sight vanished instantly. Several people collapsed. Others struggled to breathe. Marcus looked horrified. No. Orion nodded grimly. It's coming. The ancient darkness. The true enemy. The thing the Guardians had fought for centuries. The thing the three were created to stop. Aiden looked terrified. We're supposed to fight that? Orion smiled. Not alone. The cub looked confused. Then something happened. Aiden's body began glowing. Golden light surrounded him. At the same moment, Orion's crimson aura erupted. Red energy filled the room. The giant silver wolf howled. Lyra's silver symbols answered. 3 colors. Gold. Crimson. Silver. The room trembled. The powers merged. A brilliant pillar of light shot into the sky. Visible across the entire continent. And somewhere far away, a third person opened their eyes. A young girl. Unknown. Unseen. The third. Awakened. Hours later. The storm had ended. Dawn finally arrived. Sunlight illuminated Blackfang City. For the first time in days, peace returned. The damaged tower stood silent. Workers moved through the halls. Healers treated the injured. Life slowly resumed. Inside a private room, Aiden sat beside a window. Healthy. Alive. The poison was completely gone. Damon stood nearby. Watching his son. Watching Lyra. The Alpha approached her. For a moment neither spoke. Then Damon bowed his head. The gesture shocked everyone. An Alpha King bowing. To an Omega. Thank you. Lyra blinked. You don't have to. I do. His voice was firm. You saved my son. Emotion filled the room. Aiden immediately hugged Lyra. The cub refused to let go. She laughed softly. For the first time in years. She felt like she belonged somewhere. Like she mattered. Like she was wanted. Later that evening, Lyra stood on the rooftop. The city lights sparkled below. A gentle breeze carried the scent of rain. Footsteps approached. Aiden. The cub stood beside her. Looking at the stars. After a long silence, he smiled. Things are going to get crazy, aren't they? Lyra laughed. Probably. The cub nodded. Then looked up at the moon. So what happens now? Lyra followed his gaze. The moon glowed brightly above them. For a moment she remembered the words of the Silver Woman. The Guardian protects. The three unite. The darkness falls. A new journey was beginning. A much larger story. But for tonight, the cub lived. That was enough. Lyra smiled. Now? Aiden grinned. Yeah. She ruffled his hair. Then looked toward the horizon where the future waited. Now we get ready. Far away, beneath the same moon, the third awakened. And the fate of the world quietly began to turn.